Hey, Sita.
Hey, who said hi?
Yeah.
Who did? Everybody, hello, everyone.
Hello.
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 Yeah.
Hey, Gail.
Hi, Melody. Let's see. Okay. Hi, Gretchen.
Hi.
It's good to see. It's good to be back.
It's good to have you back.
Let's see. I guess
Yes, ma'am, it is.
working.
Man, it's storming here.
It's
Raining
great.
like it's raining like heck.
Really?
Humble area, but
Thundering.
Been raining all day there?
No, it just started.
Just
Thankfully I got upstairs in time.
Is it in Houston?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not.
Nice.
my husband
It's
went
not
to
in
wash my
Princewood.
truck. I have a bad feeling about that. He's gonna make it rain here.
Yeah.
Hi, I don't think have we met?
I don't think so.
Officer?
Who are
did
you
you
talking
say?
to, Z?
What did you say, Zita?
Zita is
I
saying,
don't recognize you.
I'm Gail Plunkett. I joined WiVLA shortly before the pandemic.
Oh,
And then I did a couple of Zoom meetings and I couldn't handle it. So I sort of disappeared until now.
well,
And then she
well,
became a star and then she had to come back.
Yeah.
well, I'll drink to that.
So you know, Gail, the
Cheers.
compassion in Houston is going on right now.
Right. I know that, and I hated that they were at the same time, but I know I can watch that later.
He said that they'll be showing it again and they'll have a link. So
Yeah.
so Sally and Gail, the movie stars, teleprompter heiresses, they'll
Oh, that was so fun figuring out how to do the teleprompter right.
yeah. So now those people who just read the news, that is a talent.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not as easy as it looks, I must say.
No.
I admire all those presenters.
Yeah.
But I must say that experience was very motivating for me to come back to you guys.
I'm so glad.
Now, I mean, I was planning to once we could meet in person again, but that motivated me to just go ahead and do it.
good.
Hopefully it's not too much longer.
Marie, did you survive the traffic?
Yeah.
Well, Robert and I were together, so we took the HOV on the way back.
Okay.
Just near Greenway Plaza, and then dropped us off at Hillcroft. Oh, this is mine.
Okay. Yeah. Yes,
Here, we can say hello.
Hello,
Hi,
everybody.
Marie.
hello.
Gail, hi, Marie.
And some cheese pizza with
Sure.
supper.
Is
Where's
that your
Barbie?
private bartender?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were visiting my dad this afternoon, and we just got back, and we're starving.
So
Is that
Yeah.
some of your artwork in the background?
Sorry,
Is
say
that
that?
some of your artwork in the background, Marie?
That's a mixed media piece.
That's nice. I like the colors.
It was adopted by a couple in Seattle.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Yes, yes.
They found it online?
Yes, a few years ago. So it went to a good home.
That's good.
Great.
It's always good when you feel like it goes to a good home, right?
Marie,
Yes,
you know those are the colors in the Colombian flag.
yes, they are. They are. I often use them. I just kind of see if anybody notices because I'm half Colombian.
Okay, well, Melody, it looks as though we're getting quite a nice crowd for our outing on Friday.
Yeah. So
I was going to mention that. Yay.
yeah. So it looks like we have 6 that have signed up to carpool. And I understand that Kathy, who I just saw a second ago, where are you?
Right here,
There
waiting.
you are. You moved. You're gonna meet us there. You live near there, so you don't need to come in and carpool. Is that
Yeah, I'm
right?
in Friendswood, so that's my alma mater. I'll go back over there. Yeah.
Okay.
Aha.
Okay,
so
well, you,
far
you can open the
seven.
door
There you
for us.
are.
There's the woman of the hour.
Yeah, sure.
Lee,
Okay.
can I talk to Kay Maxday?
Yes,
Are we going to carpool together? We have background on this.
Oh, there's Lanecia. Hello, welcome.
Hello. Love to. I'm in Colorado. I am in the meeting from Colorado. So
Never mind. I
I'm
have to
sorry, I
find
won't
me some
We could-
new
We
coffee
could join you
friends.
there and ride back together.
I don't mind driving. I just think most of the fun is in the car.
You're right. We have carpooled before and I hope we will do so in the future.
So
All right.
Zita,
Meanwhile,
so you,
enjoy Colorado.
I'm sorry.
Enjoy Colorado.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
We're holding the meeting.
so Zita, we were gonna meet at Silver Street and carpool. Would that work for you?
Yeah, I can take 4 people
Okay, well,
besides
makes-
myself.
okay.
Hi, Lanecia.
Wow.
Hello.
Can you hear the thunder come through here?
Oh yeah, the storm.
Mercy.
There's a huge storm brewing.
This is like one of those little pop-up storms, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. We just got rain over here. I'm in Fort Bend County.
Hmm.
And it wasn't bad here. It was a nice little rain and it cooled off everything nicely.
Good.
Oh,
I got hail. In fact,
Really?
I thought someone was trying to break in.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
I thought, oh no, somebody's trying to break in.
Well, it sounds like all hell's breaking loose here. I mean, it sounds crazy outside.
Well, it's just a narrow band going like across I-10 almost. And it's just,
Yeah. Glad the little marching band is by.
Yeah, Friendswood looks fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't
The
last
wind
so
is so
long here.
strong. I hope the internet doesn't go out. The wind is so strong here,
Yes.
blowing hard.
So
Okay,
maybe this little cool down will help our power grid.
okay, the
Yeah.
lighting in your, where I see you on the screen
Yes.
is beautiful for this. It's so warm. What kind of
Oh,
bulb do you
well,
have?
thank you. I'm in the guest bedroom at the condo and we have one lamp in here.
Oh,
But the walls are freshly painted not too
Nice.
long ago. So that's a Benjamin Moore paint. I'd have to look up. I'm giving credit to the wind blind and the one lamp. The one
Uh-huh.
lamp we have in
well,
here.
that, you just got real lucky then for to have just one lamp for it to look so good.
Yeah.
And I guess the color of the paint affects it too.
Yes. And I wish you could have seen the before pictures of this place. There were 4 young male firefighters living in
Oh
this
my.
condo, and it looked like 4 young male firefighters had been living in this condo for a lot of years. But we freshened it up and are enjoying it.
Where in Colorado are you, Kay?
I'm in Pagosa Springs.
Oh, nice.
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where some of the hot springs are, I think.
Exactly.
I think we stopped off at Hot Springs there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're good. I enjoy them.
Lanecia, am I saying your name right?
Lanecia.
Lanecia.
Lanecia. That's
Mhm.
prettier than the way I say it.
So-
Lanecia, I like that.
Lanecia, do you have any visuals that you'll need to share your desktop?
Yes, I
Okay.
do.
Let me, I'm gonna go ahead and make you a co-presenter here,
Thank you.
or co-host, I guess that's the, okay. Phew. All right. Let me, okay. So do we have any guests tonight?
yes, we do.
Okay,
Monique, are you there?
I I see her name.
I see your name.
Yeah.
Okay. She stepped away for a minute.
Okay, there she is. She's waving.
Okay, Monique,
Oh, she
Monique,
froze.
Monique, how do you pronounce, you froze? Dang it.
There she
Okay,
is.
can you pronounce your last name? LaRoe?
That's gotta be
It's
LaRue.
LaRue. I'm sorry, I have a
LaRue?
sore throat right now.
Okay.
Oh,
It's
no.
Monique LaRue.
Okay.
LaRue.
We're introducing all guests. Monique is an acquaintance, hopefully future friend of mine. And we might be working together on an art project. She is an artist. She's been all over. She's been in Houston for the last few years. And yeah, 5 years. And yeah, welcome to WiVLA.
Welcome.
Nice to have you, Monique. And Monique, I can say she's a
Thank you
good
guys
friend
for
to
having
have.
me. It's such a pleasure. Thank you.
Can Monique hear us, even though her picture's frozen?
I think so. Yes,
you hear
Monique, you
us,
can hear
Monique?
us?
I'm sorry. It was
You
cutting out
can
on
hear
me.
us? Okay.
It looks like you keep freezing, so we're just concerned you can't hear us very well.
No, it's just where I'm at right now. I have a weak connection. That's all.
Oh,
Okay.
Nice to meet
It's
you.
on my end.
okay.
The weather can't be helping.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's starting to pour down a little bit here.
Okay. Whoa. It just kind of flashed here. I thought maybe I was going to lose my electricity. Okay.
Oh dear.
Whew. Okay. Anybody else? Any other guests tonight? I know we have some new members, but I don't think I see any of them with us this evening. Whoa. Oh gosh, I hope my power doesn't go out. It keeps flashing. Okay. Fortunately, I'm recording to the cloud and not to my desktop. So we stand a fighting chance of recording this meeting. Okay. So before we get started with our meeting, we have a couple of board reports. Marie.
Yes.
Would you want the board report before the?
I'm sorry, you know what? I don't know why I have a hard time with that. You know what? I'll do the board reports and then we'll do that, okay?
Okay.
Because I can't seem to read my own agenda. Okay. All right, Marie.
Okay, well, last pitch effort to get a couple of visual people. I have 2 possibilities. If anybody is interested in being featured for the July-August exhibit, let me know. I'm going to be working on it next week so we can be ready to go and launch by the end of the month. So let me know. I'll put my email. Well, you'll submit through FormSite.
From our website. So you can go onto our website to our virtual gallery page and there's a link there too.
Yeah. And anytime you want to submit, of course, we have an opening for a visual and a literary for September and October. And we have an opening for also another literary and visual for November, December. So you can certainly submit early to those. I would like to see those filled. So
I've submitted
at the last minute.
I submitted.
Gail, I got you.
Oh,
I
okay,
got
good.
you for November, December.
For visual.
That was your first choice. Yeah.
Yes. So that's
I
a
have
definite time.
I have a question.
Yes.
So how does featuring somebody or someone interferes with the show we're going to have? Or is this something that happens parallelly?
Oh, it won't interfere. This is, we do 6 exhibits a year, each one lasting 2 months. So this will be separate from the virtual annual exhibit. Well, the annual exhibit. It's just that it's virtual this year.
Yes, Joe, you're on mute. Joe, you're on mute. I know, Joe, there you go.
Okay.
What is exhibit.com?
Joe, I
So,
didn't recognize you. I'm sorry.
Exhibit.com with 2 B's. It is a platform that we have started to use to showcase artists' work, and it's basically a virtual gallery.
How is it promoted?
well, it's like we rent a gallery.
What about it?
So we rent a gallery essentially as if we went any place and got a gallery. Like, you know, in the past, I know we've had like exhibits at, say, downtown at the Cloisters.
Mhm.
We have to promote it. I mean, they may get a lunch crowd. I don't know how much they're into buying at the lunch crowd, but we have to promote it now, and we can promote it, and they provide some tools that make it easy to promote it through social media. I think it was the last one that we had. Sometimes exhibit.com will pick it up and they will promote it themselves.
They promoted the last one.
Right. But it is an easy way for us to promote it and then for you to promote it. So for example, it's real easy for you, if you're in it, to click on one of your images and then post it to your social media, for example.
Yeah.
And we can do that also.
Yeah, share the link on all your social media platforms, or if you do a newsletter or a blog, just to share it with all your followers.
The nice thing about it is it's designed specifically to be a gallery. It's not like a slideshow or something like that. It's really like a virtual gallery. You can kind of walk through it.
It's a virtual gallery, exactly.
Yeah. So VAA and WiVLA started using it, what, about a year ago, I guess.
Yeah, when the pandemic hit, a lot of galleries went the virtual route. And
May I suggest that as we promote the next year exhibit, that we show those that are not familiar with that process. I happen to have been there when it was promoted for the first time. So I'm saying, as we invite people to participate, we might be able to explain to them what it's going to look like if they enter.
Well, we share it on the newsletter, so all members have access to it, and you know, everybody can see it. And then
I checked it out there, and it's very, very good. You can learn all about it, and it's very user friendly, I thought. And
yeah, I have seen it too. I just don't know if some people might be intimidated because they don't know the difference between a slideshow and walking through a virtual gallery. Maybe someone can put a few sentences together about that in the next newsletter.
Sure. And I do encourage everyone to go and check it out on our website. And the nice thing is Marie does all the heavy lifting. So you don't need to be intimidated by anything. You send her the images, the names of the images, the dimensions, you know, just as you might if you were entering, responding to a call for entries.
Exactly. It's just really a call for artists. But you don't have to be juried in. You're in.
It's your own private show.
That will be the venue for the Awakening?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, so that was the same platform that VAA used for their last show and for the show that's coming up. VAA is also using that platform.
Okay. I had a question about the prospectus. Doesn't give, it's not specific about 3D work. And if the limitation is 30 by 36, if it's virtual, why would you even need to limit the size?
Because of the size of the walls. So it's really no different than a regular gallery. We have, the limitation is the size of the walls.
What you can also do, Joe, and I don't want to get all bogged down in this, but what you can also do is you can provide a link. So if you have like video of a 3D piece, we can also add that link to the information about the piece. So have a 2D picture of it, and then have a link to like a short YouTube video.
Mm.
Okay.
This is just seems fairly restrictive for 3D work.
Yeah, it's always tough to have a virtual presentation of 3D. It's a challenge, and about the only thing we can do is have multiple pictures. Well, you know, like Sally, for example, for the Compassion exhibition, her piece was 3D. And so I think there were multiple ones that were 3D, but I'm looking at her right now, so she comes to mind. You know, she submitted 3 pictures, and I picked 2 of them and kind of knitted them together so that you had 2 different views of the 3D piece.
So you did the same for mine.
Yeah. So yeah, we do the best we can. I'm hoping that this is it for virtual. We still want to have the virtual gallery because it's a nice way of getting your work out there. And we also have the literary too. But yeah, it is nice to have in person.
I guess where I'm going with this is that if we're trying to convince ourselves that we know what this show is all about, there is a lot of people out there that might not enter because they don't understand that process.
They don't really, it's really, the process is no different than entering a live exhibition. Every live exhibition I've entered, except the one at Archway, and even Archway is virtual this year for the entering stuff. You had to submit images and information about the images. And so that's exactly the same as it is for this. And matter of fact, the very first WiVLA one.
You can have more visitors in a virtual show than in a physical show.
Well,
There's
and
more access.
Yeah, and I would like to give a shout out. I think through Zoom in the last few months, Zita, we've really been, the board members and the people in charge of the exhibit have been doing some screen sharing and everything. So if our membership is showing up for the regular meetings and reading the newsletter, they've got a good handful of information. So
Okay.
the lapse would be if somebody is really new to WiVLA and maybe they didn't see those newsletter items, but if they have any questions, you know, we've got people who can answer them. So the information has been very good that's been going out. Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of the Awakening exhibition, do you have any more information about that?
We have 3 entries at the moment. And we close submissions on the 30th of June.
And actually, I'm even giving you a minute longer. I'm giving you till 12 a.m. on July 1st. So I just don't say I'm not a giver.
I have a picture picked out I'm going to submit. I just hadn't done it yet.
Yeah, and I think several of us do. And guess what? You're going to get some more reminder emails too. So
yes,
they're already queued up.
I need stickies on my forehead to remember things.
Well, and I gotta say, she's not here tonight. There's a tremendous time difference. But our new UK member has already submitted her images. So we are now an international organization.
Wow.
So and one of our Austin members has submitted. So just putting that out there. One thing, our membership person is not able to be here tonight, Sabina. And one thing that she was going to mention, and so I'll just mention it briefly, is on our website, there's this nice membership directory, and everybody has a chance to update their profile, and you can put your little picture there, and you can even Photoshop it. I don't care. And a tiny little business card blurb, like 80 characters, and then share some of your work. And I just want to say that our newest members are raising the bar. They have all put their profile information out there. But one person emailed me and said, none of the A's, B's, and C's have put their profile information up there. So, you know, the Amandas and Kathy's and, you know,
Oh, it is good.
anyway. So that's Sabina talking, not me. I mean, I think y'all are doing a fine job, just a fine.
We are
Okay.
still electronically challenged.
No. Okay.
Are we
Also,
ready?
well,
for-
speaking, wait, just one second. Since Joe just made a comment here, I just want to add a newsletter, an email went out, about a week or so ago, I guess. I'm losing track of time, talking about a road trip to see her exhibition at U of H Clear Lake. So check your email. If you didn't get it, check your junk folder, because sometimes it goes there. Ask Lane, and you know, sign up if you want to go. We're going to meet those who want to carpool. We're going to meet at Silver Street Studios on Friday at noon.
Let me make sure I got that right. Joe Zider, who's right here on the screen. It's her work in Clear Lake that you're going to see. Okay.
Yes, it's
I didn't
fabulous.
realize that. Congratulations.
Yes.
There's a YouTube video, and now there's we had to shorten it, but there is an edited version also going up on Glass Tire.
Oh, great.
Oh, good.
Great. And as an extra added bonus, I hear that Joe may show up at 1:30. So the artist herself will be there.
I will be there. And
So if that's not enough, if the artwork's not enough, Joe is going to be there too. So
I talked to a group yesterday for almost 2 hours.
Oh my stars.
You can't shut me up.
Okay. That's okay. That's okay. All right. And before we introduce our main presenter of the evening, the main show, I would like Kay to share with everyone our mission statement.
Women in the visual and literary arts. Mission: to provide an inspiring forum for women to explore and advance their creative development, to promote their work in the marketplace, and to infuse the community with their spirit of cooperation and invention.
Yay. Thank you, Kay. Okay. And Sally, I am turning the meeting over to you.
Okay, well, Lanecia, welcome. But where to begin? You're a daily presence on Instagram when I really enjoy watching you. You're walking with a cup of coffee. Which coffee brand do you use, by the way? It looks so good.
Yeah, so I like to support local coffee brewers. And so Amaya Coffee and Greenway. But I hop around. I support all of the coffee shops that I can in the city. And I even have an Instagram for coffee. So where I visit,
Yeah.
I know whenever I'm going to a city, I look up the art museums and the local coffee shops in the city. And so I share some of my finds there.
Yeah, well, you're obviously a lover, and I enjoy it.
I am.
I feel that we've met already because I've seen you with your coffee and I've seen you walking. So it's nice to see you again. And okay, if you Google Lanecia, you will find her on so many websites. She's on YouTube. I watched your project Row House installation. beautiful. That's not still up, is it? That's no, but it
No.
but it's worth having a look at. And I looked at the conversation with Jonathan Van Ness of Queer Eye.
Yeah.
Now, I've never watched that show, but I have heard about him. And and he's got a podcast called, what is it? Getting Curious.
Yes.
Yeah. And you have a very nice conversation with him. And that's worth seeing. And you have work in the current Austin exhibition, which he curated. Is that correct?
It is correct.
Yeah. So anybody in Austin, can you tell us where it is? It's
yes, it's at the West Chelsea Contemporary in downtown Austin, and it's called On the Wall exhibition featuring 3 artists whose work he's a collector of.
Yeah, he's a great collector, isn't it? From what
he is. He
hear.
has a nice growing collection, and as a collector, a very good human.
And how long is that up for?
It's up until July 11th.
Okay, so we've got time. Anybody visiting Austin, go see it. And you're also artist in residence at the Center for, let me get this right, the Center for Engaged Research and Collaborative Learning, and this is through Rice, right? Correct?
Rice, yes.
Yeah, well, that sounds really intimidating, actually, but really a wonderful thing. And you're a leader and a teacher at inspirational retreats.
I do, yes. And more before the pandemic, and probably less for a while, but yes, that's part of my work.
Yeah, that one up in Austin, that looked pretty neat.
Oh yeah, it was phenomenal.
In the hill country, rather, yeah. And from what I gather, your practice includes a deep spiritual content. Yeah, you're a pastor's daughter, right? You see, I have been Googling you. And your latest post says you have work in the spring issue of The Good Word, right? It's a magazine published in Austin again, right?
Yes, and I have to say this caveat because I think they thought it was clever and kind of fun to name their creative consulting company Preacher Austin, and then the magazine is The Good Word, but it's not religious at all.
Yeah. I figured that after reading it, but it sounds like a great place. Again, I mean, I go down to Austin quite often, but I've never heard of these places. And I'm going to actually send the link here, that I think this is correct, so people can look it up. There we go.
Sure, yes.
Preacher.com. Okay, well, I'm not going to go on too much, but one of my questions to you is, when do you sleep? Because you are a multitasker, multidiscipline, and I'm going to look forward to hearing how you do it. So over to you.
Hello, and thank you, Sally, for that introduction, and to Haley and Sally for helping to prepare me for this time. I live in dual cities, mostly Houston, but my husband, Cleve, my best friend, he teaches at a university in Richmond, Virginia. And so over the past couple of weeks, I spent some time with him there, and it was hard to reach, but Sally and Haley were very patient with my communication, and it is so good to be with all of you today. I love the title of your group and the ethos, I guess. Anyone who knows me knows that the literary arts are an important part of my creative process. My sister, Sienna Rouse, who lives in Nashville, Tennessee, is a poet. And I don't talk about this much on Instagram or the platforms and where I share about my practice, but she is also a part of my daily rhythm. As an artist, we are often talking and sharing our mutual creative processes, and there's ways in which I guess arts, visual arts and literary arts are kindred, and so we both fuel each other's work and help each other be more honest in our practices. And so this is exciting when I got the invitation and learned more about your group. So tonight I am going to share with you my artist journey and creative process through my work, and sharing a bit of how I got here and what gives shapes to my rhythms, and especially like my social media, how I choose to share my life and work with those who follow and collect and support my work. And I'm going to share screen. Hopefully I can get this to work. So my artistic journey began when I was a child. Really, my mom and dad said I came dancing and singing out of the womb. My mom is a dancer singer and my dad is a preacher. And I guess they sang and played R&B, that good old Al Green, Michael Jackson, Diana Ross while I was in the belly, because I came out singing it and loving the blues and R&B music and gospel music. And so as a child, just from the beginning, creativity was fostered in my home and encouraged, mostly though music and dance. I was always drawn to the visual. And we read a lot, so poetry, my sister gets it naturally. But I was always in school. I just never quite made the grade. And I remember being a child who really wanted to excel and to do well in all things, that making that first C in art class in the 7th grade did not do well to foster me as an artist. I decided to focus on the things that I could excel in, while always having a curiosity and an attraction to the visual. And so fast forward, I come to where I am today. I'm sharing with you my journey to here because of love. Love for the arts, love for a little girl, a child that grew in my belly and whose life filled me with love and joy, that when we lost her in 2013, I gave birth prematurely. That love and joy was so deep that it did carve, as Khalil Gibran, if you've read On Joy and Sorrow, he talks about how the two are compatible, how it carved such a that sorrow, deep well within me. And art became a form that helped me to bear the unbearable. It became the container by which I was able to hold all of life, the joy, the sorrow, and express all and make visible the things that were within me. And so in many ways, I'm here today because of AJ, who's dressed this as a piece from a show I did in 2019, where I explored infant loss, motherhood, and the journey through grief, through the process of cyanotype, pulling on objects that we had in preparation for her, photography and poetry. That was very much a part of my own journey through grief and healing. And this is one of the pieces that I created from her baby's dress that they gave us in the hospital. So because of AJ, that life, that love, and that deep loss, I began to reimagine my life in 2014. At that time, I had moved to Houston from Nashville to manage an art project with men and women who were living on the streets. It's the art project, a part of the nonprofit, The Bread of Life, that's connected to St. John's downtown. And for 4 years, I directed that project. I helped to create it with the Juanita Rasmus, whose idea it was that she shared with our city. And through that, I, in many ways, discovered the visual artist within me. I would hang out at the Bread of Life all of the time, it seems, and this goes back to Sally's question about sleep. I do tend to go in and I go hard, but I also work hard so that when I do have breaks, I do play hard and enjoy this life. And so the Bread of Life was an important part of my formation, and I did that work. But after losing AJ and having time to reimagine how I would live life with the pain of her absence, then I began to realize that I really wanted to step out of nonprofit ministry work. I wanted to get the studio in downtown Houston, make the arts, share and sell the art, and in many ways, love the world through the works of my hands. to express those things that were within me. Words seemed to fail me at times, and art was able to pick up where words seemed very limited in sharing and speaking what was within me and answering the questions that I wanted to explore. And so in 2014, I did resign from the art project, and we'll have time for Q&A if you want to ask me questions about that. I'm more than willing to. Along with some poets like Mary Oliver, Alice Walker, writers like Toni Morrison, James Baldwin was an important voice to me in my becoming as an artist. I realized because I, in many ways, had to teach myself this new thing. I was trained in theology and sociology and had to learn fast this craft that I wanted to make a life with. I surrounded myself. I had to create a canon, and that's a fortunate thing because I was able to create a canon of study that was representative of my community, Black, Brown. Like I was able to make a very diverse canon, and a canon that was true to my passions and curiosities, and a lineage that I wanted to contribute to and add to in this time. So Baldwin happened to be one, and he has an essay called The Creative Process. And I love the beginning. I'll just kind of pause so that you can read these words. And it was in the aloneness of my own grief. I had bouts of depression on and off throughout my younger 20s and 30s, and still do at times. It bounces, it comes in. But that aloneness he speaks of was really familiar to me. And I love how his words encourage, and it resonated with me as an artist, that the role that we have is to go deep, is to shed light on the places that we, as a culture, as society, and individuals, we like to bury, ignore, hide, keep in the shadows, and begin to shine light. Because as we shine light and spend time in the shadows, in the darkness, I do think there is a truth, a liberating truth that can come to the forefront. And then I do my mission, my vision with my work, both on the canvas and how I live and share my life on social media platforms and wherever I go and how I move. I really want to contribute to making this world a more human, a humane dwelling place. And so this is kind of like my vision, part of my vision statement for my work. I also realized at the beginning that I was free to follow my curiosity. I gave myself permission to do that, not to limit myself, but as far as the means by which I would create, I think limitations does provide room for invention, and I have found that in my practice for sure. But when it came to my curiosities, I just did not want to place limitations with regards to mediums. And I constantly allow myself to be drawn to what I really love, to what I'm curious about, and explore that. And so I do abstraction. Sometimes I'm creating my abstract work in my studio. Sometimes I go outside, as you see in this picture. I've been fortunate to be able to partner with a company called Duluth Trading Company that's really wanting to support women makers and creatives. And so that picture on the left of me with the broom is part of that campaign. And very much I love the broom, and sometimes I do feel called to go outside. And then I'm also now really leaning hard into mixed media collage. And so I am choosing to do both. And that show that Sally spoke about in Austin, I was really grateful that Jonathan and the gallery decided to have representation of both my abstract work and my mixed media collage, and embraced both of those, the loves and aspects of my practice. But the middle is my studio here in Houston, and it is my sacred space, my sanctuary. And some of you know, like our creative spaces are indeed that. And I do believe that creativity needs a home. It needs space to fully bloom. And so I'm grateful for my studio at Hardy and Nance. When I began, from the very beginning, I was doing abstract work, acrylic. These pieces I brought in wax. So mixed media and abstraction were a part of my expression from the beginning. You see how I use words, bring in papers, my photography, and collage. These were some of my first pieces that I made in 2015. And then in 2017, I decided, and I don't know if you've ever participated in the 100-day project. It's a project that an artist in, I believe Australia started, and now it's an international movement. But around April, artists all over the world commit to creating in some form, something every day. And I missed the start date for that, but I thought the discipline, and I just needed something to break my routine, creative routine. I thought the discipline of showing up for yourself every day for 100 days was a worthwhile effort. And so I created a collage every day. It turned out, I ended up calling the collection 100 Stories of Her, because every collage ended up being a reflection of some story of women in my life or my own journey, women in culture and history. And I refer to them as visual poems. And so I did the 100-day collage project. Here's one that was created. And I didn't miss a day. I think I had to double up twice because I traveled. But I did 100, and that was in 2016. My last collage happened to be, of the 100 series, was on the 2016 election day, which I'll always remember as being the last day. And then after that, I went back straight into abstraction. For a while, I did some fluid oil paintings, Vanta Black. And when I talk about the kindredness of art and poetry, my sister ended up doing a chapbook, and the publishing company created a record of her reading one of her poems, and my artwork got to be the record. So that was really cool. Another example of my fluid paintings. Then in 2017, a local church here in Houston invited me to be their artist in resident partner with them to create 9 of these 6 feet by 6 feet abstract paintings for their worship life, as well as lead an artist collective of artists from various mediums. We have a new collective every year. We partner to offer free workshops. This was pre-COVID. From the very beginning, when I came into this particular space, I set up a big table that could hold about 12 people around it, where I could host workshops and share. I think one thing the art project did teach me was the importance of the table and making space for art to happen. And because I discovered art and life really at the table in communion tea with other artists here in Houston, I also wanted to extend my studio table to people. And so Holy Family, HTX, they partnered with me to be able to do that and offer free art workshops. And so our partnership has developed into many different things, but the collective still stands. We've had 4 or 5 collectives now. And I still create work and curate work. And we actually on Instagram now do a Wednesday Creativity and Spirituality Connect, where I commission and curate a space for artists, mostly in Houston, but we've expanded beyond Houston, to share their day on Instagram about their creative process, what inspires them, to share a prompt to get other people tap into their creativity. And that was born during the pandemic days, where we realized that we still wanted to make space for people to connect to that deep well of creativity that is within us all. In 2018, 19, I began to create my own pigments. Most of this piece holds the dirt of Houston, as well as some natural pigments and charcoal. I did a whole collection with natural earth pigments. Also in that series did cyanotype, which is the photo processing with the sun. This was in honor of AJ, of that journey, in honor of, and then also inviting people into that deep part of myself that I had not shared with many until this time. And there's poetry on this. If you get close to it, you'll be able to read and see. Yeah, my sister wrote a poem for her that I incorporated lines of. I got to partner with Swig Green because of that show and do a piece, a cyanotype piece for them. And did some other cyanotypes. Also part of 2019, I decided I wanted to learn how to paint with oils and cold wax. And so I did a series of 8 paintings, 4 feet by 4 feet for Holy Family using oil and cold wax, abstract pieces. And this is a Project Row House installation that's Sally spoke of. And this happened at the beginning of 2020. And it too, like the 100-day project, I believe was a pivotal point in my career. To be able to go into that shotgun house and see those white walls and be able to create a site-specific piece of art was both liberating creatively, my imagination went wild, and it gave me a space to visually share some of the things that I do a lot of community engagement work, specifically around race and uplifting community and bringing about unity and community amongst us all. And it gave me a space to visually ponder otherwise perceptions, how we can perceive, how we do perceive ourselves, how we can perceive others, and that's the possibilities of perception for healing the imagination. And so it was playful in every way. I used vintage magazine photos from ebonies that I collect from the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. And it was fun to be able to play with the space a bit and create swings and play with the mirror and the kit. Yeah, there was a lot of joy, and Project Row House is a great organization. And this is where I began to see like, oh, I can combine the two. There's a space for my abstraction and collage possibly with the figures to meet. And that Project Row House installation began that exploration for me. And so in 2020, I also blacked out paintings that I'd shown in exhibitions, paintings that I tried to sell, and then paintings that were just in the space. But when I, 2 months into quarantine, I just realized that I looked around and they just didn't seem reflective of who I was in that moment in time and who I was becoming, the shifts that were happening within me and around me. And so I blacked them out. And these are old paintings that I made new. I started taking the Sunday New York Times and collaging them onto my canvases and pulling away, dancing with uncertainty while making choices. So those are the pieces up top. And then I did a lot of acrylic abstraction where I was pouring and painting with my hands and my body and burns, like all kinds of materials to create these meditative pieces on top of old works. And yeah, so these are some of the new pieces that I've done. With the newspaper pieces, I realized that some of the forms called for some of the images I had collected. And so some I left as pure abstraction, and then others I brought in these images to become storytelling pieces, unearthing stories. Now I believe the questions that I'm asking are about what are, again, I think the constant thing in my work has been textures and layers and wanting to dig below the surface. And so what are the things that we are burying and hiding and ignoring and not seeing fully? And how can the art help us to bring those things to surface and maybe heal our perceptions and imaginations? And then I did some sculptural pieces as well during quarantine. It was great. I don't know how it was for you all, and we can talk about this. 2020, the pandemic was, I constantly sat in this tension of just the pain and the grief of the moment, as well as an artist, being planted in isolation and having time and space without expectation and having to go here, there, and everywhere. Space for ideas to really compost and paintings to become really changed my work. And some new things were birthed within me. And so this piece right here is 4 feet by 4 feet, and it's a canvas sculpture on canvas. And it was born during that time. And this is a painting of a commission that I did for a tech company that's moving to Houston. It's one of the mixed media collage pieces. It's 5 feet by 3 feet. And now I'm starting to really even go deeper with this visual poetry and the collage work with found materials and stitching and images. These are examples of the new work that I've been working on in 2021. So some of us think that holding on makes us strong, but sometimes it is letting go. And I find that my creative process is this constant, and work is this constant release and keeping my hands open so that I can not holding on too tight to anything, and then able to receive some of the mysterious things that can come on the surface and can be revealed as we as artists lean into our work. And I try really hard to let go of the voices. I got to have a studio visit with an artist recently who was mentored by Philip Guston, who was one of the first New York school. He was a part of the New York school. And he told me how Philip said, when artists are in the room, when we're in our studios, in our spaces, they're, some of our favorite giants in art history, whoever your favorites are, they're in the room with you. And the goal is to gradually let them go, let them out of the room, let those voices out of the room. And then to get to a point where you even let yourself out of the room so that then the art, the third painter, can really come through and paint some magic. And so that's my new mission now, is really to let go of the voices too, and I will constantly be true to who I am in the work. And social media platforms make that hard, and so I'm in a place right now of kind of relearning how I want to live in those spaces, so that the work, to give the room workspace to compost and to become, without the pressure of sharing everything about the work until it's ready to be shared, and not allowing voices in, because I feel like sometimes when we share our work prematurely, we can allow the engagement or non-engagement of people with the new thing that's being born to determine how we continue to lean into what we're intuitively wanting to create and do. And so I am creating some new boundaries and rhythms in those spaces for sharing my work. As far as sleep, I sleep and I work out. I mean, I hope we all know, like, my physical health is so important. And I'm realizing that over the past year, I'm realizing that working out and sleeping and spending time with my husband are 3 of the most important things for me. And so I try to approach my practice like I do, like I did professionally, where I check in at 9 and then try to put some limitations. But there's some times when I guess you all know, y'all are all artists, that the work keeps, it's always there. It's hard to turn off, even when I'm watching television or sometimes even sitting in a space, I'm seeing and collecting, and it's all, life is influencing the work that I create. But my Cleve is really helping me this year to create some new boundaries as we slowly, and sometimes a lot of people are quickly moving into this new reality after quarantine. And so I'm at a space of asking new questions and setting new rhythms. But
well,
that's
thank
me.
you.
Thank
I
you.
know I really enjoy looking at your work, and although it's diverse, there is a common thread. I can't say what it is, but there is a common thread.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who would you say, what artists have influenced you?
Yes, so I would say locally, I'm really Robert Hodge. I don't know if you know Robert Hodge. He's a contemporary artist here in Houston. He was the first artist who told me through the project I brought him to teach that you should continue to explore this. He does mixed media, he does collage work, and just really spoke life to me. So I followed him in his journey and his work throughout the years. And so he definitely is an influence. And he would always speak some wisdom into my head because I can get in my head a lot. I also love Ed Clark, Sam Gilliam, Alma Thomas, Helen Frankenthaler. I really do love her work.
But you've never taken studio classes. You would say
no.
that you're pretty self-taught, which is remarkable for what you're doing.
Yeah, I am. And I think that has allowed me, one, the freedom to, in many ways, to create my own path without thinking there's too many rules. I'm always breaking rules that I didn't even know existed. And there's an honesty to materials that I feel happens in my work a lot as I'm building on layers. I think there's allowing the materials to be the materials. Yeah, I just get to explore and experiment and create my own kind of lexicon, I guess. So that's been fun.
Well, now that you're an honorary member of WiVLA, you can apply to go on exhibit. So.
Oh, great. That'll be fun.
True. And yes, you get a profile page too. Let's see how fast. Let's see how fast she fills out her profile page.
Yeah,
that's great.
Lanecia, this is Melody. I have a question. I noticed in that slide you had Kingdom Tide 2018.
Oh, yeah.
The people were touching that. What was the medium for that?
Yes, it was acrylic and dirt from outside, a lot of dirt and acrylic paint. And I love that you caught that. That piece, and it was a really spur of the moment, like my hands are all over it. Like I painted mostly all of those pieces with my hands. And given the theme of the painting that season for that community, as I was talking to them about the work, I told them, and if you want to touch it, because it's just so yummy. Like it's like those paintings in the museum and they have the sign and they're saying don't touch, but everything in you just wants to jump in. It's one of those paintings. And so for that first encounter with the work, I didn't want people to, I wanted, if they wanted to lean in, to do that. Funny story is my husband, Cleve, he was sitting in the room as I was doing all this. But this tells you how much he listens to me. He saw people touching it and immediately ran up to me and was like, Lanecia, what is happening? They are touching the painting. They're not supposed to touch the painting. And he's not an artist at all, but he knows my rules because I've told him when we go to museums, don't touch. And so I was like, well, you weren't listening, obviously. I've invited people to touch. And so, yeah, they did.
That's great. Can you tell us what the church is that commissioned you?
Yeah, Holy Family, Houston is an Episcopal church, and it's a church plant that started with their mission and vision being to support the flourishing of the arts. So, yeah, it's a part of the ethos that we explore our artistic selves and support the arts in Houston.
I love that.
Yeah.
Anybody want to unmute themselves and ask a question? Come on, Joe, you're muted, Joe.
Never get.
There we go, there we go.
Hi, Lanecia. Love your work.
Hi.
Love your work. You had a quote by James Blake.
Baldwin.
Oh, Baldwin. Sorry.
That's okay.
It was always she, though, and I found that odd. Did he actually? I mean, that's a direct quote.
It is a direct quote that I changed the language of. And my husband is a scholar, and we both love Baldwin. And he encouraged me to, whenever I read these artists in history or just male voices, to replace the language so that I can see myself. So since we're all women tonight, I went ahead and took the liberty of changing it. But he writes it. He says he and man and himself, but I just changed it tonight.
Good,
And that's how
word
I
choice.
read it. I read it. I change it. I'm like,
I
that's like
think that is true to his philosophical content.
Mhm.
I've been
Yeah.
reading a lot of Baldwin lately.
Yeah.
I read some earlier in my life, but I'm now focusing, and you are true. That is true. He would appreciate that. Yeah.
So Gladys, you had a question or a comment?
I had, well, a comment. I love your work. I love everything that you showed. I also love your exploration. Like you just get ideas and you just go explore and with the materials and all of that. And I can relate to the collage. Last year, I started playing around with that myself. But my question is, have you ever done anything with encaustic?
The oil encaustic.
Yeah, so
Encaustic is wax.
Yes, I have. Actually, the photographs that I showed you of my very first collages with the photographs over the paper, I transferred the photos onto encaustic wax. And so I've done it with like in that form, but I've also done paintings using the encaustic and loved the texture that it created. And just like the oil and cold wax, the building up of the layers and pulling, and like it was very physical for me. But our studio just does not have good ventilation. And so I've had to stop using it because I just physically, my breathing, I could just tell my body wasn't responding well to it in this space. But I do. Do you paint with encaustic?
Yeah. Acrylics,
fabulous.
encaustic, like whatever hits me. But yeah, and I have done some of the, lighting it on fire using the shellac, and then propane torch, and I have a 2 fire extinguishers just in case. But I was just wondering,
well ventilated.
Yes, I had ventilation and everything.
Yeah.
I was just curious if you'd explored that medium also.
Yes, I've taught some workshops with it as well, especially for like some of the iconography, like contemporary iconography workshops I've held for the church. We've incorporated encaustic, and so yeah, it is a special medium. So,
but I just love all of your work. It's just amazing. Thanks.
So you love working with your hands, very expressive. What about some 3D work? Have you explored any of that? I mean, it was on the wall mainly, that piece.
Yeah, no.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is on my bucket list to do as an artist. I want to create sculpture. And right now I'm dancing with it just a little bit and creating some 3D aspects in my paperwork and my canvases, but eventually I would love to be able to do some freestanding sculptures. I keep looking for someone to teach me to work with clay in some clay classes, because I kind of want to start there and then build from there. And I may play with other materials, but for some reason I feel like I need to start with like sculpting with clay first. And
I
learning
paper
more.
mache. That is so.
Ooh.
Yeah, I love using that. It's
Ooh.
fabulous. It's so.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do anything you want with that, and it's
Sweet.
not heavy.
No, yeah, paper mache.
I gave up working in clay. It was just too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see you doing some paper mache stuff. Like what's his name? You know, Jesse Lott. He has something over at the station right now. I keep meaning to go over there and see his work.
Yeah, he does some really good stuff.
Yeah,
Sam Gilliam is. I loved what he kind of the innovation that he did with these shaped canvases. I don't know if you're familiar with his work, but he was one of the first to take the loose, unstretched canvas and then form, like inspired by jazz and improvisation, like form these figures and sculptures, really, where he kind of toyed with the lines of sculpture and paint. And so I have dreams of like pushing that language, like kind of diving in and then building upon what he's done with that. Mm-hmm.
When you manipulate the canvas, you had a piece where you had done that, you're coming off the wall a bit with the canvas and the folding of it. How did that transition happen? And do you see going in that direction more, actually coming off the wall more with the canvas?
Yes, I do, Joe. Thank you for that question. It was inspired by the row house installation, to be honest. And Sam Gilliam, I've been studying him for a couple of years now. And so just his work was an inspiration. I love clay artists. I collect a lot of clay art. And so just follow people on Instagram and in the art world who are doing sculptures. And when I did that installation, it was just like, oh, the space called for the canvases just kind of to dance and the collage elements around the room. And so that show never really opened to the public because the day we were supposed to open was the day Houston shut down for the pandemic. And so I think I just enjoyed making the work. It was just going to be an extra cherry on top for people to engage it. And I do think we create work for people to engage, but I loved it so much. And it really did birth in me the courage to start experimenting. And so that's why when I painted these, I had all these raw canvases just sitting around my studio that when I would try to look at them and like stretching, it just didn't seem like that's what they were supposed to become. And before you know it, I dropped this canvas on a stretched canvas and I was like, whoa, this is kind of cool. And then I just learned what the materials I needed to harden the canvas and to shape it and to glue it and adhere it to a canvas surface. And so I've done 4 of those and I'm gonna kind of lean into that along with my mixed media collage work. Mm-hmm. I love the dimensionality, right? In the light and the shadow work. And on this piece, how it changes throughout the day as the sun moves around the room because the places like the shadow changes the painting. And so there's an aliveness. And in at the beginning of the quarantine, my sister was talking to me and she's like, what do you want to do with your work during the season? And I was like, I just really want to paint paintings that are alive, like just to remind me that I'm alive. And so that's kind of how it all came to be.
The wonderful thing these days is there is so much material out there. I go into an art store and not very often, but every time I go, there's something new to play with that somebody's invented. It can be quite intimidating, really, because you just don't know. It's like being in a candy store, you know, not knowing what to choose, you know. But
yeah, intimidating and tempting. It's
yeah.
I hate going into an art store.
I have the issue with the temptation and I usually buy it and play with it.
Yeah. And I ask a lot of questions. I know like Jerry's Artorama here in town is like my art store. And so I know all the employees now, they follow me. And so they know what I'm working on. And I'll ask the questions so I can get out of there quick. Because if I'm wandering around, oh my goodness, I just finished my taxes. My money will go away. It will go away
And
fast.
the store manager there is a woman.
Yes, she is. Emily's amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So any more questions for Lanecia?
I have a question. Like, I know that you talked about your sister and her relationship with your art. Like, do you guys ever see yourselves actually doing a collaboration outside of just the vinyl piece that you've done? Or is there other stuff in the works, or do you intend to do that?
Thank you, Haley. Yes, we do. We're going to teach a class in Sewanee next year, combined on poetry and painting. So that's going to be fun. And we just keep talking about either a book that we want to do together. But in my vision, I think we need to do an exhibition. And so she's currently co-curating, this is a cool thing, in Nashville, the Carol Walker exhibition at the museum, because they brought her in as a curator with her poetry, because they felt Carol's work just begged for some poetry to kind of to go with it. And so she has been the curator for that. And now in her mind, I think she can see the possibilities of the art and the poetry coming together. So it's in the works.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. And I guess too, you asked some of my influences too. And I do want to say, Ada Limon is a poet, Lucille Clifton, Alice Walker, Ocean Vaughn, and Jericho Brown are some of the poetic voices currently influencing my work. And so I do every day. I sit with a poem, and I sit with poets for a long time. So I try not to, like, I've been with Lucille Clifton since the beginning of the year. And so I hang out with them for a while before I move on, so I can really soak up their words. And Lucille is really influencing a lot of the work that I'm making right now currently.
So what's the next project on? What's happening next week and the week after?
Sure. Yes, so I will have some collage work in a show in Charlotte that's opening in August. I have my first solo exhibition in Kansas City in September. And
what about Houston? Where's it going to be showing in Houston?
I know, I'm currently showing downtown. And I'm supposed to be, the curator hasn't followed up with me yet. He's an artist, so it may just kind of be a last minute follow-up, but we're supposed to do a show together in July here in Houston. So if I do contribute work to that, I will definitely share about that on my social platforms.
Yeah.
And then I'm in the Texas Biannual this year, so I was selected for that. So I'll have work in that show. That opens in August, yeah.
Yeah.
What is the Texas Biannual?
It is a biennial event where the two curators curate art shows in 3 or 4 different locations across the state of Texas, celebrating artists. Typically, it's just been Houston artists that they've selected to be a part of this, and it's artists in like all stages of career. So like Jesse Lott, I think, is in this. Melvin Edwards is in it. Jamal Cyrus, Ann Johnson. So it's like this array of people. But this year they've also opened it up to artists who have roots or connected to Texas in some way, but they don't necessarily have to be living in the state to be in it. And so it's a cool thing. It's sponsored by, I can't think of the nonprofit off the top of my head. I don't know why my mind, it's the end of the day. I'm an early morning riser, but yeah, it opens in August and lasts till the end of January, and it'll be in San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, and I feel there's one other spot, but my work is going to be in the San Antonio area.
Okay. Excellent.
Well, I just want to say thank you for the bravery and the strength of your talk tonight. But talking about the biennial, I think finally women, we have kind of braced the barrier, you know, we've gone against it. And I see you nodding, thank you. And this is great because these were strongholds of a certain type of hierarchy and patrimony. And so to hear you say that, I think is really wonderful. And I'm gonna go in and look it up tonight because I've lost track of it through the pandemic, but I'm gonna look it up and make sure there are a lot of women in there. I want to be in there.
Yes, there are. And one of the curators, Ryan Dennis, she was a curator for Project Row Houses for a number of years and now is at the museum in Jackson for Mississippi. She's one of the curators, and it is there are a number of female artists on the list, which is great. Women. Mm-hmm.
I got the thumbs up going.
And I just put a link in the chat for the Biannual so you can see the list of artists.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted to say how much I enjoyed it before I say that, I apologize that I kept getting up and down and I missed so much of regret that I missed so much of your presentation. My dinner did not agree with me. But I'm glad I heard your early statement about you created your own canon of study. That excited me because I haven't studied anywhere for writing or art, but I call myself a writer and an artist. And it's all just I've studied more writing than I have art. Art, I just do whatever I feel like doing. But I really got excited by that because I feel that I've created my own canon of study for writing, and I will do that now for art too. Thank you.
Oh, yes. And we have such great resources for us here at Houston. Dorothy Hood is one that is a big part of my canon. Helen Frankenthaler, Howardina Pendle, Alma Thomas, like I mentioned. It was great to be able to say who are the women and who are the African Americans that I really want to know and to spend time with their works. But then also, like, I don't think the goal for me, it hasn't been to, I want the canon to reflect the things that I'm curious about. And so I do open it up, like Robert Rauschenberg is in there, you know, like it is, but I also really first went to women and people of color. And then
all the women you mentioned were award winners, Lifetime Achievement Award winners from the National Women's Caucus for Art.
Oh.
So, and actually, I think I met Howardina at our conference in New York at a thing, and I know we just had Allison Sarr was the recent awardee. We met in person, which was not this year, but the year before in Chicago, right before the pandemic hit. So Allison was at the, and her family were at the award ceremony in Chicago. Next year is our big anniversary. I think it's 50 years. We'll be having this awards in Chicago again. So you can see our list of awardees online of the WCA. There's somebody coming to Georgetown who's going to, I think, try to reestablish a Texas chapter. So.
Wow. See that list. So that's what I'll do. I'll end up finding people on that list that then I'll just do a deep dive into their work. Like that's just how it happens.
And I definitely met, now I'm going to blank her name, from Georgia, Atlanta. Female artist with a, I don't know. I know I Betty Sarr is on that list, but it's somebody else. I can't think because right now when we had a meeting there.
It'll come to you in the middle of the night.
Yeah, it will. Or if I go down on a list and look. And by the way, I guess you know about Jamal
Cyrus's exhibit. I just did 4 lessons for the Blaffer, 2 of which for families are, the first one premieres this Friday on their website. And that would, the first 2 are Jamal Cyrus lessons. So
cool.
For people to do with their kids or by themselves if they want. So I've gotten to learn a lot about him because
yeah, he's brilliant.
Lanecia. Hi. I wanted to forward you some information for a sculpture class. Lori Betts, who used to be in WiVLA years ago, she has a ranch in Porter, and she does a weekend like sculpture in clay class. I took it a couple years ago, and it was the first one and only time I've ever attempted sculpture. And honestly, that it's an unfinished piece, but I still, have it with plans to finish someday. But anyway, I would just like to forward it to you because I think you would enjoy it, and especially the fact that it's out in, like on a ranch, and she's got a big warehouse, and because your art is amazing. Your freedom impresses me immensely. I would love to see you venture into sculpture.
Thank you. That'd be so fun.
Oh, you'd be great. Thank you.
Well, we're all going to follow you very closely from now on. We're all going to be your groupies.
Yeah.
I guess I'm a member now. Right?
You are for 1 year. Yes,
Ah.
ma'am. And so we'll enter you on our membership directory and then send you a link so that you can set up a password and have at it.
Wonderful. And
That in the next
Lee,
couple days.
it's great to know that you're at St. John.
Oh my gosh, they are.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, talk about inclusive church.
Yeah.
No, it's just now I'm only watching them on Facebook on Sunday mornings. It's like I miss all the hugging. So it was a very huggy church. So now we have to on Zoom. But no, as far as community involvement and really walking the walk, of caring for people. I mean, that's the place to be. I'm really so yeah. Do you ever go to Rudy's coffee shop?
All the time. They're still very much family. So
yeah. No, they're great people. And I wanted to I wanted to let you know, when you said that, they take the time for everybody, and that's really nice. But I did want to mention that I'm impressed with your collages and the way you did the canvases and then painted over and pulled off. And I like the layering. I really find that very fascinating because you can predict some and other things just happen.
Yeah.
But then I like you adding the words and then adding the cutout pictures and all. It's like it gives it such dimension. I'm a paper person, so yeah, I'm not ever gonna really get too sculptural, but I do like the layering. I think it's terrific. So keep doing everything, I guess. So.
Yeah. And try to sleep every once in a while.
And try to sleep. And try.
Every once.
But if it's hard to be like a small business owner and an artist and creative and do all the things. I look forward to the day that I can get assistance. There are a lot of artists that even like their social medias, they're not doing that, and it's like, that would be my dream when I'm able to afford somebody, even just like, let me buy you coffee once a week, that I can trust to just do certain little aspects so I can just immerse myself in the work. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, this has been just fabulous. I mean, we could just sit and hang out with you all night. Inspiring
I think she needs to know that when we go back to in-person meetings, that a lot of times after the meeting's over with, there's a group of us that like to go out to dinner.
Yeah.
So
that's fun.
Y'all keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Oh, that is great. Thank you. Thank you all. Yeah, this is great.
So nice to meet you.
So
nice to
before,
meet you.
so wait, before we leave, before we
Thank you.
close, did anybody have any announcements about things that are going on in their arts world?
This Saturday at Burning Bones Press on Yale, 1500 block of Yale, is the Summer of Ink print fair. It's part of their big, they're doing some workshops and talks, and they've got some other printmakers coming in and all. And then Saturday during the day from 10 to 4, they're doing a print fair where you can come, and they've invited me. So I make handmade books. So I've been doing a lot of print related books, things with some cyanotypes and stuff on the covers and different things. And so, yeah, I'm creating a new collection for Saturday, but that'll be at Burning Bones, and there's so many talented people there. It's going to be fun. So
The opening, the public opening for the big show at Lawndale is all day Saturday, free, open to the public. Friday night is the ticketed event for artists and members, but all day Saturday is open to the public. I consider a major 3D installation work in the show.
hey,
Good for you. Oh, well done.
This isn't anything that I'm exhibiting in or anything, but I'm participating. I'm watching, and there's a large group of primarily women that I've been involved with for 3 years now, I think. It started out with a thing called Encaustic Camp. And I met a lot of artists from all over the world. And one of the artists that I met was Laura Murphy, and she is in OEM Studios in Ireland, Mulroney, Ireland. And we're doing a 1 year long, once a week. There's a video workshop, and then we have a Zoom meeting once a week. There's 26 artists that are all sharing techniques that they've developed, or, you know, it's just a lot of fun for a whole year, y'all.
Wow.
impressive.
I'd like to go to Ireland. Okay,
I'd like to go to Ireland too. I want to go see Laura.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Well, see
See
you all
be.
Joe, wait, Joe, did you have something else, or are you waving goodbye?
See you all Friday.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Okay.
I want to say I was going to email you, but I can't come Friday, and I really wanted to go to the group outing, but Friday I have to be with my husband at his doctor's appointment at noon.
Okay.
But I will miss it, and definitely try Saturday to get by the big show.
Yes,
Okay.
it's really a beautiful show. The one thing that I like, I don't know if anybody saw the VAA presentation, and it was a curator who was explaining how she approaches curating shows. Well, I was very impressed with the juror / curator for the big show, and she's organized it thematically, which I don't think anyone has ever done at the big show before. It's really nicely laid out.
Those VAA talks are online if anybody wants to see them.
Yeah. I never get them live, but I try to.
Yeah,
They're never at a good time for me. That's the nice thing about virtual, right? Okay. Well, ladies, it's been a fabulous evening. Thank you, Lanecia, so much. This has been great.
thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
And
Loved it.
everyone, we will see you. What month is this? This is June. So we'll see you in July. I never know anymore. Thank you.
I
Yeah,
had a
pop
real
in
quick-
and pop in and update us at another meeting, Lanecia. Yeah.
Yes.
I had a real quick question. I noticed we had a visitor tonight. We can forward our email with all the meeting information and have people attend as a guest, a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So when you get, well, yes. So when you get the Zoom email
Yeah.
that we send out like
Yeah.
the day before, you can
Right.
forward that
Okay, great. Good
for
to
sure.
know.
Oh, Monique just sent out a message to everybody. She's
Big
got a
show.
piece.
Okay.
Oh, congratulations, Monique. Yeah.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
Monique.
nice.
That's awesome.
Oh, yay.
I put in the
Congratulations,
chat.
Another
Monique.
reason to go.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I put in the chat about my book, and the storm has arrived in Friendswood.
Okay, well, it left here. Yes, it was something. All right, ladies.
Even get any
Thank you.
rain.
Good night,
Well,
everybody.
Good
Good
night.
Thank
night.
you. Have a
All
great,
right.
have a
Thank you,
great
Alicia.
weekend.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Alicia.
Melody.
Thank you, Elisa.
Bye.
Night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.
Clicking leave.